Good day, YouTubers, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls from all around the world. We got more done. On this starboard side, because I want to use this board on the port side before I cut it, I'm going to turn the ship around and do all the rat lines on the lower parts of the mast. That stick helps hold it away from the board so I can cut these easily. We finished the other dead eyes on the top part, the very top crow's nest on the starboard side. I'm gonna get this string in here so I can cut it. I'm gonna have to use the other cutters for that. And then we got the ones over here done on the starboard side and the very top. Got the other ones ready to be made up. All we gotta do is turn the ship around, make them up. We had a family get together this week, so I haven't got a whole lot of time working on the ship. I did finish these upper sections that I was starting with last week. So I got 2 sets of rat lines done on the upper sections, and the very top dead eyes done. So we are going to turn the ship around after this. Start on the lower rat lines. With that last one there. Yes. You can see I use these little clamps to hold the board. Yeah, this works like a charm. Got a few to do at the very top, but they're not going to be near as bad as all these ones that you really see the most of. You want to make sure they're nice and even and glued down good. So let's take our boards out from the back and clean up the bench a little bit and turn this baby around. Get ready for some of these bottom rat lines on the other side. Okay, so we got her turned around. We got 2 boards ready to put these rat lines on. One on the forward mast and one here on the main mast. All we got to do is wrap this string around there And of course the boards are backwards from where they were before when they were on the starboard side. Now they're reversed, so they'll work on the port side. Drop my roll of string. And when I was doing the top layers of the rat lines, I had to unfurl this string because the roll was too fat to fit behind there between the board and the mast. So I unfurled a bunch of the string and wrapped it around this little gauge I've been using for the choker thing on the Deadeyes. And I sort of guesstimated how much I was going to need, and I did it just enough. The 2 times that, or actually 3 times. It was 2 times, yeah, because this one over here, I can get behind it, but I couldn't get behind it up above because the shrouds are too close to the mast. Once you put the board in there, to be able to fit this roll of thread behind the board and go around. I'm keeping it fairly snug as I go. Dropped it again. Who's that, a blue jay? No, that sounds like a female cardinal. I got some little bird feeders out there hanging on my little lean-to in front of the shed. And they're empty right now, so I think that bird is telling me we need to restock, because it's nesting time right now and all the birds are making nests and laying eggs, so they need their nutrition. And get up here near the top. I got that clamp on the top just above the last cut, or the last notch in the board. I want a heavier counterweight here. With a heavier counterweight on there, I can leave that hang. And of course, when I started, I just tied a knot, well, probably 6 or 8 or 10 knots all in one little bunch. And that's what's behind there, so it doesn't come loose. And before we want to glue, as I learned the first time, we want to stick some spacers back there and then make sure that our shrouds are evenly spread. And once we get that glue to it and let it dry, thousands of knots will be eliminated, which is good because I can mess with this spacing a little more as I get get closer to the glue spot, gluing time. You can see how easy you can change the spacing. You got to be careful. Once you glue them and it dries, then you don't want them to be crooked looking. Now, up here near the top, the last string is touching the board there. And I've got a clamp there. Yeah, I think this will fit in there. That'll hold the string away from the board at that very top spot. So, that's straight. Now all we do is glue 14,000 little spots. I think before I glue, I'm going to go ahead and lace this one up. And then I'll be able to glue all of them at the same time. Because the gluing is a little tedious, you know. You don't want to get too much, and you want to make sure that it's getting between the rat line and the shroud, so that the glue is in between each one. So you got to put a dab on the top of the rat line and then try to scoot the rat line up and get a little glue on the bottom. So that way you know when it dries it gets a good contact. If you just dab it to the front, it's not going to get all the way through the string to the back, and you'll have problems. And then once that glue starts to set, we got to move these sticks every 5 or 10 minutes to keep the glue from sticking to something that we don't want it to. But that has worked on the other side really well. And it, you know, it didn't take hardly any time at all to put that board in there and clamp it down and then start wrapping that string around. All we got to do now is glue it up. I might relieve the clamp a little bit on this top. Put it further up so it's not sitting so much pressure on that last rat line. So let's wrap this other one. Glue it up. You can see there in the plans, we're at the stage where we get all these rat lines on. And noticed on the other side, I didn't have rat lines all the way down to the top of the choker on the shroud. So I might not glue this first one, just so, because when the sailors climb over the railing to get on here, they're not going to need a step way down here anyway. So I think I'll not glue that first line, just glue the ones above it. You can see I'm pushing the string up and down the rat line to get some glue behind the rat line where it touches the shroud. As long as it stays level when I get done with that row, and watch the spacing compared to the next one. The idea here is to make sure that some of that glue gets behind the rat line where the rat line is touching the shroud. I already did the first shroud on the left there all the way up, and now I'm coming down, but doing each row individually. And once you do that first row, that sort of holds everything in place on that one side for your spacing. These rat lines are 5 millimeters apart. We want to try to maintain that, even though these little skewer sticks are in there pushing on it. We can do a fine adjustment while we're putting the glue on here. Chicken out there bucking must have laid another egg. Had one egg on the ground in the run this morning. I don't know if that means some of the chickens didn't go in to the coop last night, or I noticed that Henny Penny, that's the black one with the white spots, Bird Rock, I think. The other two are Cockamorans, the black ones. Henny Penny's been hogging the nest. She'll stay on there all day long, not eat or drink. I'm having to pick her up and throw her out of the nest when I go in there to check for eggs. So I bet you that's who's... You can see there's glue on that stick there behind the shroud. So we're going to have to move that shroud, or the stick, and then this Deadeye, the second one in here on the left, it's got a little twist on it. So that glue sets up a little bit. I'm going to try to turn that Deadeye a little bit so it stays straight. Hopefully the stiffness, moving the camera back a little bit here, so yeah, hopefully the stiffness of the shroud will help hold that Deadeye straight. So now I'm just looking at making sure I did get glue everywhere and that I'm straight and level. I got about this far down. I had to switch hands, and I'm using my left hand in this area, and I probably didn't get enough glue on there. I'm gonna make sure I got them all good and wet, because this cotton string that comes in the kit just soaks this super glue right up. And I'm making sure my glue tube is open so it's ready to use next time. You see how that one's already sticking. You gotta move these every few minutes. Make sure they're not sticking. And that one's too far down. It's already too late. Yeah, I can move that instead. Trying to keep that 5mm spacing. See, right here it's a little wide. You can tweak these a little bit while they're still wet, because it takes a good 10-15 minutes before this will start setting up good. And then you can see where the glue is soaking in to the string there. It's turning it white, or you know, a tan color or whatever. And that'll happen in a lot of places, so I just go back with this big Sharpie, and after everything dries I go back with this, and that takes care of that. So now we gotta move over here and glue this one up. Okay, glue is finally dried. Our shrouds or rat lines are not stuck to the board. So, just like before, take our little fingernail clippers. I didn't glue that first run. You can see that the spacer, it gets in the way if you leave them in there when you're trying to cut, so you want to pull them out. Just lift it up when you need to. And we got a lot of touch up to do with the magic marker, but a lot easier than tying 5,000 clove hitch knots. That was my clamp letting go. But yeah, this works really good. Once you get that cut loose from the board, voila. A little bit of touch up with a magic marker. That's how you do rat lines. Why didn't I do that before? So, this week's accomplishment. Some of the upper dead eyes done on the starboard. Before we do the rat lines over on this top part, we'll finish the dead eyes on this port side. But take the cutters and go in there and cut that loose. Put some magic marker on it and the rat lines are done. Man, that makes it so much easier. Thanks for watching.